Hey there. Welcome to the Pine Island Experience podcast. I'm Joanna Anderson with my husband, Trygve. Each of our episodes will be conversations with fellow Pine Islanders.
The goal of our podcast is to share with you our experiences, what we have found to be fun, and what makes the Pine Island experience so unique.
I kind of grew into it. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I wouldn't have school or anything, Saturday or Sunday. So I would basically go and be with my dad the whole day because, I wouldn't see my dad until he would get home at like 5 o'clock. I would go the whole day without seeing him. Now, that was my way of having time with my dad, spending time with my dad. 4 or 5 years old, I was out there in their nursery, walking around behind them, kind of following what he was doing. And basically, I could say that from 4 to 5 years old all the way until I graduated high school, I was there every weekend helping him out. And I grew into it. I learned to love it. I love it, what I do.
Jose Gonzalez was speaking about how he got started in landscaping. As a little boy, he really enjoyed spending time with his dad, Roberto, and following him around at work. Jose learned landscaping and he learned to love landscaping, including the plants and palm trees. Today, you will find Jose at the nursery taking care of the plants and palm trees and designing new landscapes. And now, here is Jose. Well, we're fortunate to have Jose Gonzalez here from Gonzalez Nursery and Landscaping.
Yes, ma'am.
So happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Certainly. I just want to mention that your company did a wonderful job. We really needed it. We never had a chance to bring back the landscaping since Ian.
Yeah.
But you came out, oh my gosh, the difference it made. It's beautiful. Thank you.
No, I'm glad we could do that for you. It looks great. I just looked at it outside. It looks amazing.
And the back looks good.
Yeah, that's great.
We always start out in the very beginning, and we can talk about Roberto and you and your family, where you guys grew up and how you came here. So if you want to fill us in on the history of your family.
So basically, my parents have always lived in Connecticut, but they kind of, once they had me and my sister younger, they kind of wanted to let that go because of all the snow and everything. There wasn't that much chance for work. It was only 6-7 months out of the year that they could work. So my aunt, rest in peace now, she had a nursery down here. So he came down here for work, a work opportunity. My aunt, sadly, in I believe 2010, 2011, she passed away from cancer. And one of the things that she did, she really loved having my dad around. She kind of passed it all on over to him. So that's how our business came about. We moved here, I believe it was 2004, 2005. We lived in a trailer park on the north end of Bokeelia. And that's where we've been our whole lives. Not our whole lives, but recently we moved into a house in St. James, I would say in 2019. We have a house in St. James City. Yeah, basically our whole life, we've been here on the island since I was 4 years old.
I was going to say you must have been young.
No, yeah, very young.
Do you remember coming here when you were 4?
I remember here and there. I remember one time we were on the airplane and my sister wanted a baby bottle and my dad reached over in the overhead. I'm like, where did he go? I didn't know, I was too young. But yeah, for the most part, I do remember living in the trailer park and going to Pine Island Elementary. And back before Pine Island Elementary, they had a pre-K system. There's a Creative Coast pre-K now. They had their own pre-K. So I went there when I was 4. I believe it was 2005, 2006. Pretty much grew up my whole life on the island.
Yeah. Not too many people can say that, but you can.
No, yeah. Not a lot of people can, but I'm glad to say I lived here my whole life pretty much.
You remember how your aunt decided to start a nursery here? It's always interesting to find out Pine Island isn't the most obvious place. You've got Sanibel, you got Captiva, you've got Siesta Key off Tampa, and some of the famous areas of.
Yeah.
So obviously this was kind of agricultural, but do you know what drew her down here or what got her started?
I believe it was my other uncle. He had already lived here and she was like, I'm going to give it a try, open a business here. And I believe she had it since 2005, 2006 as well. She was always been drawn to plants and agriculture and everything. And, moving out here gave them the chance to have all this space that they could use for farming and being able to do their landscaping out of their nursery.
And do you have stories of were you drawn to landscaping, or or did you just work your way into like were you like planting stuff when you're 3-4 years old, or did you start learning from the family and just kind of grew into it?
Really, I kind of grew into it. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I wouldn't have school or anything, Saturday or Sunday. So I would basically go and be with my dad the whole day because, I wouldn't see my dad until he would get home at like 5 o'clock. I would go the whole day without seeing him. Now, that was my way of having time with my dad, spending time with my dad. 4 or 5 years old, I was out there in their nursery, walking around behind them, kind of following what he was doing. And basically, I could say that from 4 to 5 years old, all the way until I graduated high school, I was there every weekend, helping him out. And I grew into it. I learned to love it. I love it, what I do. Learn a lot about the different plants and palm trees that they have here also.
And when did your and your dad's business officially open? Because you kind of started with your aunt's nursery. When did you guys like take it over and it was your company?
Taken over completely. So the company isn't owned by me and my father. It's owned by my father and his brother, Antonio. They started, I believe, in 2013. My dad didn't want to do the business by himself, kind of a little nerve-wracking to have to run over a business by yourself. So he recruited my uncle. My uncle was living in Mexico. He came over here, started working with us. And he kind of goes back and forth from Mexico. He goes, I believe, twice a year. He has a farm. He has cows. He has, plants a lot of corn and stuff like that. He's just a big farm guy. So he definitely helps out here as well.
Probably smart to split those responsibilities because I'm always fascinated. I always worked for somebody, but I think there's that dream of running your own business. But I think for a lot of small business people, you start the business and you realize, there's all this stuff.
Yeah, a lot of going.
There's not enough hours in the day kind of thing. So to be able to split that and then with a trusted relative.
Of course. No, yeah. And I know a lot of people, they do not like doing business with relatives and stuff like that.
Yes.
But they've had a lot of bumps in the road, don't get me wrong, but they've really learned to love to work together. I believe if one of them left, they wouldn't continue what they're doing. I mean, they just work together so well. I mean, they do.
Well, it's
really
family.
Yeah. No, yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, it's family.
And your dad has such a great, pleasant personality. He's so calm and smiles, and I can see why you wanted to hang around with him.
No, yeah, very calm, very, very collected guy. So just love spending time with him because now pretty much every day hang out with him.
So if we go back to 12 when it got started, 12, 13 when it got started, and now to 2025, maybe kind of take us through some of the growth or the changes or expansions that you folks have gone through.
So basically, that whole time before, I believe, 2020, 2021, it was just, it wasn't that much of an area because the Publix wasn't there. A lot of people never really realized until the Publix was built that we were there. So that really helped us gain a lot of customers and get a lot of business. But before then, it was calm, but it was never really we weren't getting any business sort of aspect. It was always stuff to do, but now it's way more busy because, a lot more exposure, as you could say. Yeah.
Can't miss it when you go into Publix.
No, yeah. You can't miss it. It's right there.
Yeah.
Signs right there and everything. One of the things that I really strived for is before I worked with them full time, I'd say. I started working full time after I graduated in 2020. I started working full time, and one of the things I really strived for was being able to, get them some marketing because they didn't have any Facebook page. They didn't have, any pages or anything. You couldn't find them online, basically. No Google, no Yelp. So now I basically helped them with that. And safe to say it's really helped a lot too. A lot of more customers coming from online, not as much people are coming just, brick and mortar, seeing it on the side of the road. A lot of people do look for it online. And that has definitely helped a lot since opening.
It has changed, I think. Even if you get a good reference via word of mouth, I still think, you think about buying homes, how that's changed. And that's all done virtually. Now, you still go see the place, right? But
of course.
There's so much more online research. So to not have an online presence has got to be a certain detriment. I don't know that it's necessarily measurable, but that's great that now another family member kind of adding into kind of that whole trifecta of keeping the business going.
No, yeah, it definitely helps a lot because as you said, like with buying a house, you see the house, you see the pictures. And I believe if you were to see pictures like that before, it wouldn't really draw people to, these houses. Like I said, it really helps having an online presence this day and age.
Well, you mentioned Google reviews, and I wanted to bring that up because they're outstanding.
Yeah.
And Google review is something that everybody looks at.
No, yeah.
So you have some great reviews in there. Trick put a review in there.
I thank you guys for that.
Let's talk about the nursery first before the landscaping. And I was seeing your Facebook page has some really pretty pictures in there and stories, and even how you guys said that you wanted to help the people on the island before you helped your own business after Ian. That was a very sweet thing to do. But tell us about the nursery, the palm trees. We actually had some of the palm trees that you mentioned in here. I always said that commercial meant a lot to me about my house is where plants come to die. Because if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it could be kind of hard.
It is. So tell us a little bit about those trees. And
so basically, what my dad and my uncle, what they do is they take care more of the landscape side of things. They do the jobs and everything. And I'm basically the one that takes care of the nursery. I'm there watering the plants every day. If wind knocks down a plant, I pick it up. Someone comes, I walk through the nursery with them, tell them how much something is, tell them the different type of plants with different types of growth patterns. They want something smaller. Here's your smaller plants, want something bigger. These are the plants that are going to get pretty big. So I pretty much walk through the nursery and give them different recommendations on what they should plant according to what they have, going on in their garden.
And you have, I think the palm trees are really, you guys talk about them a lot on your Facebook page. What would be one of your favorite? Do you have or what are customers' favorite?
Customers' favorite, I would have to say right now, as far as, having a distinctive look in your garden, a lot of people love the Sylvester palm.
Oh, yes.
Because it could be, cut up and trimmed very nicely. But my personal favorite since I was younger, I would have to say the Christmas palm. They have like the 3 stalks, 2 stalks, 1 stalk. But those are the ones that I started, I would look for the mature ones in the field. I'd take the seeds off. I'd plant the seeds. That's kind of my first experience with ever farming them myself, planting them myself. That's kind of my favorite palm, just due to that aspect.
I like those, the Christmas ones. We had a couple of those at our old house. And then what you said, Sylvester, that was the prettiest one on your site, I thought.
Oh, yeah. They look very nice. I remember this one time we were in Fort Myers Beach, and this guy kept on saying, "Oh, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I've been dreaming of having a palm like this for years." And honestly, before then, I never had an interaction with somebody like that. They were so, in awe at a palm tree. And, it really felt nice. It really felt nice to bring some kind of satisfaction to them, It really felt great. That's why I really enjoy what I do, helping all these people. And once they see the finished product of their work, they're just so happy. It just makes me happy.
What's good about palm trees here? I mean, almost everybody seems to have one. So is it the climate, the soil? What is it that seems to make them flourish? Because I don't think palms were native to Florida per se, but they seem to be flourishing.
I believe it's a lot of these palm trees are native to these islands, a lot of to these more humidity, areas in the world. I believe just because we're surrounded by water and it's kind of like, very sandy soil, a lot of the palm trees do take off and they do very well in that kind of environment. So, I mean, Pine Island is basically at this point covered in palm trees. A lot of palm tree fields, you go off by Harbor Drive, a lot of palm tree fields, a lot of different types of palms. I mean, everything is grown out here. It's amazing how big it's gotten in the last couple of years.
The plants, there's a lot of plants that you can have here, but they don't all necessarily do well, or we don't know how to take care of them, or
yes, ma'am.
We have to cut them back, or they'll just take over.
No, yeah, with the plants, mostly what a lot of people here on the island are flocking towards, or all the, they're getting rid of their pretty, flowers and stuff like that, and they're substituting for native stuff. And I feel like that's a great thing to do, especially since a lot of these plants do get destroyed by the hurricanes. They do get flooded and they can't really tolerate it as well as the native plants do. So a lot of the people substituting their plants for native plants, helps out the environment, and it also, you don't have to replant it after a hurricane comes through.
What are the names of some of those native plants?
Native plants, a lot of the ones that we've been planting are railroad vines, sea oats, beach creepers, beach sunflowers, stuff like that. You'll still have your flowers, but it won't be the prettiest stuff, but you'll still have flowers. It'll still look very nice. And, has that added layer of protection. You don't have to worry if a hurricane comes through and destroys everything.
Does the salt water, like when we get the storm surge or if it just gets a lot of rain, that's just water per se, but does the salt hurt the plants? I guess salt water is not overly concentrated with salt, but salty enough that it's referred to as salt water.
Yes, sir. So basically, whenever, we get a surge or something, it's a lot of salt water, and a lot of these plants aren't salt tolerant. They can't filter that salt through their roots, and it really harshes up the leaves and everything and really declines the plant. Basically, what we try to tell the people, if you don't have native plants and they're not salt tolerant, just get a water hose and try to clean as much of that salt out of the ground as you can. It'll filter out. And if you don't get to that, the salt stays in the soil. The plant is, surrounded by salt at this point, and it just declines until it dies.
So kind of a massive dilution process then.
Yeah, pretty much.
And when we were talking about the palm tree, I know you've had 2 Christmas trees, palms that for Matt Lachey.
Yeah,
there. That's very nice.
We've done it the year before, and this year for the Matt Lachey Civic Association, they've come and asked us, can you, donate a palm tree, please, so we can for our, annual lighting.
Sure.
Of course, I've loved, every time they come and. They give us a little thank you note, and they're just so happy. You can't beat that.
And it's your palm tree.
No, yeah. And every time you pass by Matt Lachey, you see all the Christmas lights. There's my palm tree. Very special.
Do you folks concentrate primarily on Pine Island, and do you expand off the island, or are you pretty much focused? You're an island-based company and you service the island. How does that part work in terms of your business?
In terms of the business, we're open to, basically planting and doing work anywhere. But most of our work does stay on the island due to we are an island-based business. But there is times we're doing work in Cape Coral. People have referred their friends in Cape Coral, hey, come by this nursery. Or there's times we've even gone up to Winter Haven to plant a big palm tree. And sometimes in Naples, it just depends in the time. It just depends. But I'd say, mostly just on the island. Especially with all this traffic that they've been doing with the bridge, all the traffic. A lot of the people, they just don't have the time to sit in the traffic and come all the way out to the island. So right now, it's mostly been, island work. We're grateful for our island friends help us stay in business.
And it must be a good culture there, because I know when you folks did our yard, there's a amazing volume. 2 truckloads of material were spread in just over 2 hours. I guess based upon other things, I think you folks show up around 12:30, and I'm thinking we're going to be writing out that check around 6:30 or 7 tonight, and it'll be dusk, and you guys will kind of be late for dinner, and there'll be bugs out, and that's not good to be working in. And like 2:45, you're knocking saying, "Yeah, we're done. What do you think?" Some of that stuff, particularly like, gravel, and I don't know how many bags of mulch went down, but that's not easy work. And the speed and the efficiency is amazing. So how do you guys do that?
After doing it for so long, you kind of pick up on the fastest way to do things. You get very efficient. So what these guys with my dad and my uncle, they both do the work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, I believe, 2 guys that come with them. And between 4 guys, they were able to do all that work in a little 2 hours or so. It's just really the efficiency. My dad and uncle being on site helps them, stay efficient. If the guys need to do one thing or do another thing, hey, go do this while we do that. It kind of helps speed up the process. The work gets split up into different, tasks.
It's an amazing turnaround in almost no time.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that, right away your dad is like, no, just leave it. It's fine. I noticed he was giving them direction, and then he started working.
Oh, yeah.
And that happened the whole time. And I don't know how they did it that fast.
No, yeah.
It was so amazing.
So basically splitting it up and kind of staying on top of the guys, not necessarily, telling them constantly what they got to be doing. You get here, you tell them what's going to be done. They do it. My dad helps them, and that's kind of how it works.
It was like a ballet.
It's all rehearsed.
In terms of landscaping, then do you come and do design as well? Because like in our case, she kind of already had the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you execute it, if you will.
Yes, sir.
You also have people that have no idea, and you kind of come in and suggest things to them, not only how to lay it out, but then what to plant, etc.
So basically, in that aspect, if they do not know what they want, I've just started, doing my own online landscape design. So basically, that wasn't before. We didn't have anything like that before. Basically, my dad would walk through and tell them this would look nice here, or this area would look nice with this, and he'd kind of just show them the materials and the different plants that they could use. But now I have the ability to, make a whole design plot, make a whole map, and mock up drawings and pictures like that. It's definitely helped out a lot because a lot of these people come in and they have no idea what they're getting into. So basically, once you show them, in picture form, you kind of show them this is what it's going to look like. Oh, wow, that's great. Let's go ahead and do that. It makes it a lot easier on both of us.
It was very informal before, but now, probably due to somewhat your age, and more adapting into tools. Not only are you helping with the social media, now you're getting that tangible plan for people to look at and hold. I do think people still like to hold something in their hand as much as they like to look online. So there's another kind of maturation of the business where you've gone from probably very good advice, but in a very formal, casual conversation up into a design plan that can be reviewed and discussed.
An actual plan. It definitely helps a lot of people because they just want to see something on paper. They don't want to imagine it per se. They kind of want to see how it's going to end up looking like.
How long does that take? Are you using CAD?
Well, right now, I kind of just between different, software because I don't know what I like yet. I'm not too sure what I'm too good at right now. I just started, but basically I just use what I can, and that usually takes me, I want to say, a couple hours. I usually do that on Sundays when I'm not doing much at work. So I would say if from anywhere to 2 to 3 to 4 hours, doing designs and just making it look nice. And if the client, wants to change something out, of course I can do that for you. Here's your updated.
And you're probably getting faster at it now.
No, yeah, a lot more efficient with it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more efficient.
We do palm trees, plants and whatnot. We know you do gravel. Do you do other kinds of things beyond gravel as well as maybe some hardscaping? Or?
We do hardscaping. They've done a lot of pavers in the past. They do sod, a bunch of different types of sod. We subcontract out our irrigation. We're not too savvy on our irrigation. And we do subcontract out people that want the curbing, the concrete curbing. That also gets subcontracted out. But other than that, I believe everything else we do install ourselves.
Do you come back out then and say, well, I'll be here a couple times a year to make sure the palm trees, if they need fertilizer? Do you have business like that too?
Sometimes, yeah. There's people that ask for it. It's not something we usually offer. But if someone, wants us to check something out and see if they need fertilizer, they need, some advice on a palm tree that's not looking too good in their yard, I'd always love to take a look and get it looking nice for them again. But as far as being on a set schedule, that's not really what we do. But if someone tells us, hey, I got this palm tree, how many times a year do I have to fertilize it? What type of fertilizer? I always help in that aspect. And
then what's the best way to contact you?
You can always find me Monday through Saturday at right next to Publix, 5220 Pine Island Road Northwest in Bokeelia, Florida. Or you can look at our Facebook at A. Gonzalez Planting. That's some very good ways of contacting us.
And then we're always going grocery shopping. So we'll just swing by. And it's 9 to 5, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch that around and say Publix is right next to A. Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's better. That's better marketing.
No, yeah.
I saw this too. You do free quotes.
No, yeah. Every quote we do is free. Mm-hmm.
In our case, Roberto came out the next day. It just blew me away.
Oh, yeah. Roberto really likes, staying on top of things. And, he doesn't like letting things sit while he does other things. He kind of it gets too overwhelming. I'll tell him since I'm the, one who coordinates all that stuff, I'll tell him, hey, there's a job you need to take a look at in St. James City. And since we live right up the road, he'll just come down here and on his way home from work and just go back home.
Phone numbers people can use?
Phone number, basically, we all have, me, my dad, and my uncle all have the same phone number. It's 239-898, and the last 4 digits are different. So mine would be 6181, and my father's would be 2781.
And then does the company have an email if people choose to do that?
Email, if you'd like to contact us with email, it'd be agonzalezgardens@gmail.com.
And other things that you wanted to get out about the business or yourself or your dad and your uncle that we didn't ask you so far?
I think that covered mostly all of it, but, I'd just like to say thank you for having me. I really enjoyed doing this podcast, and I really enjoy what I do. Enjoy helping islanders find satisfaction in their gardens again, especially at being damaged by hurricanes. They do, that's one of the things that's kind of put last, on the things you got to fix. You got to get your roof, you got to get, appliances if they were flooded. But they're one of the last things people kind of finish. And once they finish, they're like, oh, wow, my house looks beautiful again. That's kind of what we like to do, make houses look beautiful again.
Well, we can tell you're very passionate. And we know your dad's very passionate, and that just shines.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
We hope you enjoyed our Pine Island Experience podcast. If you have any ideas for us, people to interview, or any comments, please feel free to email them to us at pineislandexperience@gmail.com. That's pineislandexperience, all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, and you may subscribe to this podcast using all the major catchers like Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and remember, island life is a constant vacation. We'll see you on the next podcast.